For almost every living creature on Earth, survival is confined to a narrow, specific Goldilocks zone. Biology relies on a constant balance of temperature, atmospheric pressure, and liquid water just to keep basic cellular processes from collapsing. Strip away those environmental constants, and life breaks down with violent efficiency. If a cell freezes, internal ice crystals rupture its walls. In a vacuum, its liquids boil and tear it apart. Even a massive dose of ionizing radiation is enough to physically shatter the DNA that holds its instructions together. Because we are bound by these strict physical laws, humans and complex organisms are confined to a tiny, hospitable bubble. Outside of that thin layer of protection, the universe is reliably lethal. Yet there is one animal that routinely exists outside these established rules: the tardigrade, famously known as the water bear. These creatures are microscopic, measuring only 0.1 to 1 millimeter long. They look less like earthbound animals and more like eight-legged, segmented machines of survival. Despite its size, the tardigrade has an unmatched record of endurance. It has successfully survived exposure to the vacuum of space, temperatures nearing absolute zero, and radiation levels that would be instantaneous for any other complex organism. This resistance isn't the result of physical armor or a hardened shell. Instead, the tardigrade relies on an internal transformation that allows its systems to simply wait out conditions that would destroy its cells. Its ultimate defense is a biological pause button, a total suspension of its own mortality. When a tardigrade is faced with a freezing or dangerously dry environment, it doesn't fight the hostile conditions, it submits to them. The animal initiates a survival state called anhydrobiosis, where it actively expels nearly all the liquid water from its body. As the water leaves, the tardigrade shrivels. It pulls in its 8 legs and curls into a compact, highly dense form known as a ton. Simultaneously, its metabolism drops to a level that is essentially undetectable. Normal biological activity stops entirely, effectively putting the creature's life on standby. By removing its own water and halting its metabolism, the tardigrade eliminates the very internal processes that the environment normally targets. This inactive state is exactly how scientists have been able to expose tardigrades to the lethal vacuum of outer space and watch them survive. But radiation protection happens even deeper. On a molecular level, the tardigrade produces specialized proteins that assemble into a protective scaffolding over its cellular structures. When high-energy radiation strikes, this scaffolding physically holds the DNA strands in place, preventing the genetic code from shattering. Because of these internal defenses, the tardigrade has become an essential subject for researchers pushing the limits of survival science. They survive the worst the universe can offer, because in this state, there is virtually no active life left to kill. Their durability has led to a popular internet myth that tardigrades are tiny alien colonists waiting to conquer hostile planets like Mars. But to actually do anything, they have to reawaken. Once liquid water returns, the tardigrade rehydrates, and its metabolic systems boot back up. To actively feed, grow, and complete its life cycle, the animal still requires a hospitable, wet environment. Their invincibility is strictly a mode of suspended animation. They are fragile earthlings that can successfully pause death, but cannot actively live in the extreme. The real value in studying the tardigrade isn't in finding an alien invader, but in mapping the specific mechanics of its survival. If researchers can isolate how these proteins stabilize genetic material, it opens a path to protecting our own cells from previously inevitable damage. These insights could eventually yield new technologies for long-term biological preservation, advanced medicine, and shield astronauts during deep space exploration. The molecular patterns that allow this microscopic animal to survive the vacuum of space may eventually determine how far our own biology can reach into the stars.